Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Atz from the City of Fort Wayne's Office of Housing and Neighborhood Services. So we're going to go ahead and get this voluntary technical assistance started. This technical assistance is in regards to some of the CDBG CARES Act funding that the city's received. We have strong HUD has strongly recommended, and we believe that this funding source needs lots of new partners, so we're excited to see the number of attendees on this call. The call's pretty informal, so if you have a question, you can either feel free to unmute, as long as you're not driving next to an airport or somewhere that's going to be really loud, unmute and ask away. There's also a chat function, I believe. We're still learning this Zoom and all this other virtual meeting stuff. You'd think that I would be better at it by now, but it's going to take some time. So there's some chat function there. Our goal is to have any questions that need addressed proposed to us by the end of the day on Wednesday the 9th. And then Cameo and I will dig through the regs, all the memos, and all the other guidance HUD has bombarded us with, and get you an answer by the 14th. So we want to make sure that you have plenty of time to prepare your application with the proper responses. So let's go ahead and get this started. Let's go to slide 2 there, Cameo. Here we are. Jim Atz, Community Development Administrator. Cameo is with me here, and she does all the hard work for the department for this stuff. So she's going to be the one to come up with the great answers. There's our email, ohns@cityofortwayne.org. Our office is closed, so when you guys are putting together these applications, and you can email them to us. I know normally we are very strict. Normally on our CDBG funding availability, we're very strict because we have very limited funds and lots of people asking for those funds. So if you submit an application that is missing a couple of things, we may kick, under those normal circumstances, you may kick those things back to you as incomplete. But we are trying to be as flexible as possible with our potential partners. So email us your stuff, email your application to us, and we'll work very closely to make sure that we've got everything, and that if we're missing something because of a technical error, just missing something, that we will be in touch to resolve that issue. Next slide, please. So the objective, I can't see the entire, how do we get the, there we are. So this, hold on one second here. Sorry about that, Cameo. All right, so here's how this technical assistance is going to be laid out. We're going to provide you an understanding of CDBG, definitions, eligible uses, and we'll talk about how CDBG may be different from the CDBG CARES Act. Is a little different than our regular CDBG entitlement, but a lot's the same. But we will cover all of that in this session. What is the Community Development Block Grant Program, CV program we'll call it. So all this funding, and we've received 2 allocations of CDBG CARES Act funding. All of it is based upon our community responding to the current pandemic. How are we helping community members prevent, prepare, and respond to the coronavirus? All of our lives have been impacted in lots of different ways, and this funding source has the flexibility to help people in our community respond that have been negatively impacted by the current pandemic. So as you'll see, all of this funding availability is based on responding to the pandemic, and there's lots of flexibilities to go along with that. The Office of Housing and Neighborhood Services receives federal funding from HUD. Every year we have a action plan, and we have a CAPER, and we have all these things. But in this case here, we received 2 rounds of special CDBG funding to prepare for, prevent, and respond to COVID-19 that have unique conditions and guidelines that are different from regular CDBG. So I've been into this presentation 4 slides in, and I've already said probably 3 times this prevent, prepare, and respond to. So that's very crucial language for funding applications. Please make note of that. Our round one allocation was 1.1 million, and our round two is 1.2. We've been working with partners on some very immediate emergency needs in our community that, as a result of this pandemic, and we are now reaching out to more partners and their needs to preparing and responding to the pandemic. CDBG CV applications. So we released this on November 30th. The due date is December 18th by 5 p.m. Again, that I think the NOFA says unless written approval from OH&S of an extension. So we definitely, if you need an extension, we want to make sure that you request that prior to that deadline. Cameo and I probably won't be able to respond to you at 4:30 if you're asking for an extension on that day. So let's, if you need an extension, let us know in advance why and what kind of extension you're looking at. I know the holidays are coming up, but we are dead set on reviewing these applications for completeness, for eligibility, and all other things, and getting responses out to our partners in January, and hopefully shortly after that, also getting agreements in your hands so that you can start your activities. So we're going to try to speed this up as much as possible, but please be patient with us when need be. CDBG CV eligible uses. So it's important to note here that HUD isn't telling us what kind of activities are eligible for preparing, responding, and what was the other word, Cameo? Prevent, prepare, and respond. HUD isn't telling us what types of public services do that. What they're telling us is that our applicants need to make a case for why it is that the activity they're undertaking does one of those three things. So while preparing your application narrative, please go to detail in explaining that. So here's our notes, important notes. CDBG CV funds may only be used for those public service activities that are new or that represent a quantifiable increase above the level of an existing service. So we know that the current pandemic and the economic crisis that has resulted in that has put lots of strain on our community, and that there are lots of individuals in our community that are asking for more services. So we know that you're getting calls, you're getting folks that you probably had to turn away because you don't have the capacity, financial or programming capacity. So here's where we're talking about requesting funding to help those additional folks. Or it may be that the clients that you serve on a normal basis need other programming or other assistance that you normally don't provide. So here again is an opportunity to tell us that you're starting a new type of service or a new type of activity for clients that you serve in your agency. Again, any of this stuff that you guys have any questions about, shoot us an email for clarification. Applicants should clearly justify the funding request as a response to the current pandemic. So, it's again, we know that the pandemic has impacted programming lots of different ways. Other things are going virtual, or you have more requests for service. Please let us know, and please clearly state in the application narrative how that is happening. Beneficiaries are to certify that they have been negatively impacted by the current pandemic. So what will happen is those of you who are familiar with the program, our CDBG funding, when you intake an individual, there's a client profile form. So when that individual shows up and says, I need this service, whether it's reading preparedness, whatever it may be, and you have that individual fill out the form, you gather the demographics, you gather their name, address, and because this funding can only assist individuals that are at or below 80% AMI, there's a section in there where this person self-certifies what their income, their household size, and their current income, and that's how we document that family or individual is at or below the income requirements. So what will happen for regular public services is that there'll be another affidavit on there that says, this current our family has has had a negative financial impact because of, or an increased costs because of the current ongoing pandemic. And that is what we're talking about. We're not talking about the family bringing in a pink slip or something saying that someone lost the job. We're just asking them to certify through this this form that they've been negatively impacted by it. Have there been any questions that have popped up? We're going to do a quick check on the chat function here to make sure that no questions have come in yet. We've thrown a lot at you so far. Ooh, there is, yes. Can you apply for 2 different purposes? Yes, please do. We have 2 very different new program strategies yes, please. Can he make it? Make the certification on behalf of the examples. I think there's a way. The question was, is it the individual or is it the agency that's making the certification of negative impact of the pandemic? And there's probably some flexibility in how that certification is done. We're just, again, doing a due diligence that when HUD comes to monitor a file, that they know that we've gone to steps to document that there has been a negative impact to that individual or family because of the pandemic and the economic crisis. Okay, let's see here. Let's go on to the next slide, please. We've broken down, again, those of you familiar with CDBG funds, you know that there are lots and lots and lots of fundable activities. We've broken this thing down into 3 big categories: housing stability, whole family health and safety, and resilience. So let's start with housing stability. So programs that serve households who have lost or reduced their income due to COVID-19 find and keep safe and stable housing. We know the importance of keeping people stably housed during this pandemic is crucial. There are lots and lots and lots of different studies that show that, and we believe in that wholeheartedly, and that's why a lot of the funding so far has been to keeping people housed. So this here is the toughest of the bunch. So yes, part of the funding eligibility here is funding to assist people with rental house subsidies, subsistence payments, food, clothing, utilities, and security deposits. So this one here, because of the current flexibilities offered by HUD, can be assistance not to exceed 6 months. Okay, so a lot of times we'll see people in our community that can't get help with, past due bills, and this is an opportunity. We can fund 6 months worth of assistance in arrears or forward payments. We can help with food, clothing, utilities. Again, there's that 6 months for those utilities. There are arrears or future payments. We can do 3 months. Like this example would be 3 months in arrears and 3 months going forward. It's not. It's got to be a total of 6. Security deposits. Nowhere in the federal in our documents dictate that security deposits need to be recaptured by entities. So down here, as you're going to see, is a big bold, and I would have put it in red. Applicants agencies that want to apply for funding to run this type of program must submit program design and financial assistance levels with application. So we'll want to see you clearly spell out how you'd run a housing stability program that offers housing subsidies and payments for food, clothing, and utilities. There's another big red one right there that would be red that says these payments are not made directly to the families, to the beneficiaries. These payments are made to other entities. They're made to the landlord, the utility company. They're made to buying food vouchers from the community harvest, whatever it is. They're not payments directly to the individuals. That's a biggie there. They're made to third parties, landlords, the utility companies and such. So we'll we're going to talk about this program again when it comes to duplication of benefits. But this one here, we definitely want to see in your application clearly defined what it is you're doing, how you're going to do it, and what amounts. Go to the next slide. Okay, whole family health and safety. Let's see here. This one, again, is a little more in line with what you'll normally see with our regular CDBG stuff. Programs that address the physical and mental health of all generations in relation to COVID-19 needs. There's lots of these public services are in a lot more need now than before the pandemic, the lockdowns, the economic crisis, all these things. So eligible activities include, but not limited to, senior services, services with people with disabilities, youth services, child care services, substance abuse, services for victims of domestic violence, mental health services, food banks, health services. All these things are in a lot greater need now than they were before the pandemic, and they're all eligible under this funding. We just need to, what we need in that narrative is we need clearly stating why you think these are needed to respond to prepare for and to prevent COVID-19 spread. So, or the pandemic. So just clearly give us some good narrative on these things. Resilience, okay. Programs that help individuals and families emerge from the COVID-19 crisis stronger. Our eligible activities include legal services, transportation services, employment training. We love all of these. We know that all these are important. And these are, again, things that we fund normally. They're just in a lot greater need now than they were before, and we think that all these things can help families and individuals respond and come out of the pandemic in a lot better condition than they were before, or at least as good as before. So we love all these activities as well. CDBG ineligible uses. We don't love these uses right here. So direct payments to beneficiaries. There it is. You know, again, if somebody comes in, they've got their letter from the landlord saying they're going to be evicted. Here's how much money they owe for this many months. That individual doesn't leave your office with a check. Obviously, the check goes to the landlord. Households making more than 80% AMI. Again, these funds are for assisting families at or below 80% AMI. That's what the vast majority of these funds do. If you have any question about your program, whether or not that 80%, it'll meet the 80% AMI for those beneficiaries, please send us an email asking that question. Households that are not impacted by COVID-19, again, if the household has not been negatively impacted whatsoever by the pandemic, the economic crisis, they're not eligible for assistance to these programs. I have a feeling you're probably hard-pressed to find lots of those families that have not been impacted. Costs that are not necessary or reasonable. So there's lots of flexibility, and we're throwing lots of potential programs out there. We need to make sure these costs that you're proposing are necessary and reasonable. So, you know, that, like we said earlier, that we're food and clothing are now eligible costs to assist families. Well, let's when you prepare your program design, let us know how you're going to make sure that they're necessary and reasonable. I'm sure there's lots of food and clothing, you know, costs that may not be in those categories. You know, if you're not going to give out gift cards to whatever, you know, restaurant in the sky, you know, it's just let's make sure that you clear spell that stuff out. Next slide, please. Differences between CDBG and CDBG CV funding. I guess obviously the big one, it's not on here, but the big one is because the CV funds, the CARES Act funds, are here to help us respond to the pandemic. So normally when we're in discussions with subrecipients or grantees, we always tell you folks that you're not to incur costs, and we definitely won't reimburse costs prior to the start date of your funding agreement. I mean, that's just under normal times. There's no way we'd reimburse you for costs that you incurred before the start date of that funding agreement. But these funds are special. So the CDBG CARES Act funds do allow us to reimburse our partners, our subrecipients, for costs that were incurred and paid dating back to January 21st of 2020. If you have costs in your program or your funding request to us that you want us to reimburse prior to the agreement date, please let us know as soon as possible. I mean, we haven't had a lot of recipients request reimbursement for costs that they incurred prior to the agreement to prevent, prepare for, or respond to the current pandemic. So we want to know those things. So send us an email at that ohns@cityoffortwayne.org. Let us know, hey, we're preparing an application. It includes costs that we have already incurred that we're seeking reimbursement for, so that we can review that and let you know whether it's something that we're able to assist you with or not. Next slide. Additional information. Okay. This is an important one. I think we mentioned this already. Duplication of benefits. This is a big warning sign here. HUD is very clear that they don't want a duplication of benefits occurs when a person, household, business, government, or other entity receives financial assistance from multiple sources for the same purpose, and the total assistance received for that purpose is more than the total assistance needed. So we want to see in your program design, if you're paying rents, if you're paying utilities, we need to know in your program design how you're going to prevent duplication of benefits. Let us know what your plan is and that you're aware of it. Is there we have a hot off the HUD presses is a CDBG CARES Act duplication of benefits guide. There should be a hyperlink in this. There's a hyperlink in this presentation that we'll put out on our website, so you can read it. It's a 4-pager. I haven't got all the way through it because it said we just got it on Saturday or Sunday. But duplication of benefits is a big deal. We don't want it to stop you from applying for assistance, but please know that it's a big deal. So we do fund, so useful information, a word about faith-based organizations. Just like every other time that we award funds or have a funding opportunity, faith-based organizations can apply. So just it doesn't just, you can't have a stipulation that beneficiaries of your program have to profess a particular faith in order to receive assistance. So please note that faith-based organizations can apply. Just that little caveat right there. Let's see here, next slide. Monitoring, just like all our other programs, we're going to grade you based on what you tell us you're going to do in your application. So all these things, all of our recipients get put into a risk analysis, and we determine whether you're drawing your funds down like you said you were going to, that you're helping the number of people that you said you were going to, and that you're not having lots of turnover or lots of complaints or lots of other things associated with your program. And there'll be lots of monitoring that Campion and I will do. So just please be aware that monitoring is part of it, but it's here to help you all with your programs and help you make better, refine your programs so the next time you apply for funding from us, your program is in even better shape. Water. Hold on here. So here's some additional resources for everybody. There's all of our documents are on that public services and ESG subrecipient page. So this PowerPoint will be there. The NOFA is probably there. All the forms that people fill out to run these programs will be there. Our 2016 to 2020 consolidated plan is there. It's the last year of that plan. So since I've got a captive audience online here, I'm going to let you know that in the next few months, we are working on our next con plan, which is going to be 2021 to 2025. So you all may be on a list of people we reach out to do some focus groups and some other discussions to help us identify gaps in our community, service gaps, and other things that we need to try to address with our federal funding over the next 5 years. There's a link to our 2020 action plan if you want to review that and what we're currently working on. There's an analysis of impediments to fair housing. That's another amazing document. You know, why can't people in our community live where they want to live? What are some of the barriers that prevent them from living where they want to live? So that document's amazing as well. Necessary documents for application, just like always. Good standing with the State Department, audits, let's see, grievance policies and outreach materials. You know, let us know how you provide us those documents if you have them. Absolutely, the grievance policy we're really interested in seeing. The SAMS registration, that's a thing. Please get registered in SAMS, any entity that receives federal funding. Word of caution, do not respond to any websites that require you to pay to be registered in SAMS. We've heard instances where contractors and nonprofits in our community have been taken for a ride. $600 later, they still don't have a SAM registration. It's free. It's totally free. Never click on anything that says pay to get a SAMS registration. And a board of directors resolution saying that they support the submittal of an application. I think we even have a abbreviated form if you don't have a board meeting between now and submittal time. Okay, what do we have in the chat line there? Let's see here. Hold on one second here. No new chats. Is anybody brave enough to unmute and ask a question? Oh, there is something in here. Hold on here. Let's see. Also, where are we at here? 215. Do you make a certification? Okay, we got that 214, 215. Given that the grant period is retroactive January 21st, 2020, are we able to use these funds as a means to recoup the funds that we have already used as a match? So these CDBG funds, this CDBG funding here, there isn't a dictated match. Please, again, send us any questions you have about the possibility of a line item in your budget for costs that have been incurred, from back to January 21st, 2020, and we can get you some better information on that. What's the next one here? People may have challenging certifying in person, so they will need an electronic process to complete the form. Yes, we understand that a lot of face-to-face meetings aren't happening right now, and it may be that there may be a signing off on a form that is scanned or whatnot. Whatever, let us know what your proposal is. If you signatures on the certification forms that the clients sign, let us know what your proposal, how you want to go about getting that signature. Okay, another one here. If you are requesting for various areas, yes, if you're going to submit an application for more than one type of activity, you can use the same, I'm looking over at Cam real quick, you can use the same application. We just want to make sure that in this application, the budget is clear about divvying up between the different activities, and that the narrative is clear about the different activities. Okay. Also, do you allow line items for overhead associated with these projects? Unfortunately, we don't have we don't have administration line available. What we're talking about is direct activities that are directly related to the program, to this program. So even staff costs for preparing reimbursement claims are directly responsible for this program. But if just an overall cost for your executive director to do fundraising, on behalf of the organization is not something that we have a line item for. It's got to be costs directly related to running this program, and that can include reporting to us, preparing claims to the program, things like that. Right, Cammy? Am I off the mark too far?
More or less, yeah.
Okay, yes. It's been a long few days. Okay, yes. clarify, funds can only be used for, yes. Okay, so these funds have been allocated to the city of Fort Wayne. We're only able to assist individuals who live within the city of Fort Wayne. So that's just that is just what it is. Yes. So people who live within the city of Fort Wayne.
And that should be documented in there.
Yes, and the Cameo just pointed out that the client profile form will ask for their address, and that's how we put that in there. Okay, on to the next question. If we have a program that responds to home fires and helps with assistance with temporary housing, clothing, etc., but we have given more due to the pandemic, would we qualify? Valerie, I may need an email from you, maybe giving some more information about a program that responds to home fires. We may need some, again, we don't want people that are unhoused. Just write me an email about what kind of program you're talking about here so we can give you a better guidance on what to do there. Okay, the next question. Trying to zero in on duplication of benefits language. We all are definitely doing that. Is that at the agency level or client level? For example, does an agency need to verify that a client is not receiving a duplication of services from somewhere else, or is it meant to govern that an agency disperses all funds received? We definitely don't. We want to try. We can't have clients getting assistance at the township trustee's office and then come into your office for the same assistance. Now, duplication of benefits is tough and it's imperfect, and we all are looking for the perfect language for that. So let us know what your proposal is and how you want to handle the preventing duplication of benefits. It needs to be done, and we'll just do our best due diligence. Again, it may be that we like to think that if you're assisting the client with past AEP bills, that AEP isn't going to allow the payment of that twice. But just let us know how you're going to do it. You guys are more the experts on these things than we are. We just need to see that you guys recognize that it exists and have a plan to try to prevent it. What do we have? Can these funds be used for general operating purposes if all of our services have been deemed essential? These funds are used for specific programs to help individuals. What's that mean? Okay. Sorry, technical things are flashing at us. So our funding goes to the program types that are listed above. If you're thinking something outside of those programs, please let us know. And general operating purposes isn't something that we think of that as that admin stuff. Again, we want to cover costs that are direct to the program, that are directly running the program and directly helping those clients. Okay, are there any questions that people want to unmute and ask? Okay, again, we have the OH&S email address that you can submit questions to. We want to have those questions in by the end of the day on Wednesday, the 9th. So take the next 2.5 days, send us your questions. Let us know if you want to get reimbursed for costs dating back to January 2020, and we will get you responses by the 14th. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and just again, please be in touch. Let us know if you have any questions about narrative, questions about eligibility, any questions you have. Cameo and I are here to help, and we will assist you the best we can. And thank you all for attending this technical assistance.